Oh boy, I'm so excited to start with Dead by Daylight. I've heard you can play as Michael Myers from Halloween in this game. I mean, I love that movie. Let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I am simply here to say, I am sorry. What I thought was a funny opening skit was a really horrible jinx, and I do not owe you a soda. I owe you an apology. I did not know that my actions would result in the Halloween chapter being taken away, and from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry. I want to apologize to the internet. I want to apologize to everyone that has seen the video. For my fans who are defending my actions, please don't. I don't deserve to be defended. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm disappointed in myself. And I promise to be better. I will be better. Thank you. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Dead by Daylight commentary video. And unfortunately today, I do not have very good news for you. Today, I have to unfortunately report that the Halloween chapter is leaving Dead by Daylight. No, this is not a fib, this is not a bit, this is not a joke. Not that my jokes are very funny anyways, but I am being dead serious that the Halloween chapter is gone. That means no more Myers, no more Laurie, and no more Haddonfield as a map. Although that last one, I don't think a lot of people are gonna miss, so... So today in this video, we're going to be getting into how this is the license that got me into Dead by Daylight, the reasons that it could be going, and what it means for players now that the chapter is gone. The Halloween chapter means a lot to me because it is the chapter that got me into Dead by Daylight. I remember back in the day when I was hopelessly addicted to MMOs. Raise your hand if you had an MMO addiction at some point in your life, because I know I had one, maybe two if you count RuneScape, but my main MMO addiction was Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I don't know why I decided to get addicted to an MMO that was not even that good. It was very mid, and not to something good like maybe WoW. But that's not the point. In my guild that I used to play with in Star Wars: The Old Republic, I had a wonderful friend named Jiv, hi if you're watching the video, who said we need another game to play, because not only was Star Wars kind of mid, so were the people that were playing the game. They kind of sucked too. So we were trying to think of other games we could play, and there was this wonderful little horror game called Dead by Daylight, and it even had the Halloween chapter. Whoa! So my friend, being very, very kind, got us both the game in hopes that we would play it together as kind of a way to kind of disperse the addiction we had to our MMO. But instead of us playing it together, we just didn't end up playing it at all. However, when I was going through the Steam page and I saw that there was a Halloween chapter and you could play as Michael Myers, I was enthused. As you can tell, the Halloween franchise means a lot to me. It was one of the first horror movies I ever got any sort of exposure to. The first horror movie I got to see start to finish was Alien vs. Predator in 2004. But my first horror memory ever was actually of being a very, very, very little kid, like a toddler, going downstairs and seeing Halloween 5 on the TV. I think it was on the AMC, and they were playing the scene, the barn scene from Halloween 5, where he's got the big scythe. So for the longest time, I thought Myers had a scythe, which is not accurate, but it freaked me out. I'm like a toddler. I'm like a little kid. So watching somebody get murdered in live time was terrifying. Or I'm sorry, should I say unalive? They've been unalived, bro, in lifetime. I don't want to get demonetized. I kind of look like somebody's Meemaw with this blanket over my legs. Like, hey, I knitted this myself. The point being that I can now experience what it's like to play as Michael Myers from his perspective was really, really cool. And it's what enticed me to get into Dead by Daylight. And for the longest time, he was my main. He was my very first main, and I played him for years until I realized that he was in a very, very weak state. And not only a weak state, but kind of a boring state. Like, you just followed people, stared at them, and then hit them, which is very lore accurate, but he couldn't handle the stronger stuff in the game, and I didn't feel like I was expressing skill very much while playing them. But for years, this was the main thing that drew me to the game of Dead by Daylight, was this awesome chapter. chapter. And one of the things that I see often as a counter argument to Halloween being removed from Dead by Daylight is that, well, it doesn't matter as much because it is a fairly old chapter. It is the first licensed chapter that they ever had all the way back in 2016, October 25th, I believe. So it's been in the game a long time, so people have said, oh, well, there's no way that's bringing a lot of players considering how old the chapter is. When I first joined Dead by Daylight, and like I said, Halloween was the main thing that brought me to Dead by Daylight, the chapter had been out for 4 years at that point. And that still got me into the game just through the fact that I could play as my favorite horror slasher. The Halloween license definitely has draw and staying power. And if you think this is just an anecdotal experience, if you go over to Nightlight, which is the unofficial stat page for Dead by Daylight, Myers is the 3rd most played killer in the game and has historically enjoyed a very, very high play rate in the game of Dead by Daylight, regardless of the fact that he was very, very weak at one point and recently got reworked. Even before that, people liked feeling like Myers, even if you weren't necessarily the strongest killer in the game. It felt like you were playing the shape, so people liked flocking to playing that character and have for the entire 10 years he has been in the game. Wow, that makes me feel old. So this is a major negative that the character has been removed from the game, some even going as far as to say this is the final nail in the coffin of 2025 being Dead by Daylight's worst year. Now I want to get into reasons as to possibly why the Halloween chapter is leaving Dead by Daylight. There's a lot of conjecture out there and there's really no solid answers to what really happened, but there's a lot of hints. So let's go ahead and go over those. First is the obvious horror ASIM on the arrival, Gun and Ilphonic's Halloween game. Maybe Gun and Ilphonic learned from their little situation with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, their own game, that maybe not taking Bubba out of Dead by Daylight was a mistake. Maybe the fact that they were competing with their own game for their experience to play Bubba Sawyer from the Texas Chainsaw franchise was a little too much. Realistically, it was a lot of other things that made the Texas Chainsaw game fail that realistically had nothing to do with that.
I'm not sure what there is that needs to be apologized for, but if you feel that an apology is needed, absolutely, I'll say it. I'm sorry.
But maybe from a corporate kind of business perspective, they don't want the competition this time around. And considering the fact that this game looks already in its trailers, looks way more fleshed out than the Texas Chainsaw game was, I imagine they've put a lot behind this game and they really either don't want to or can't afford for it to fail. So maybe we're pulling out all the stops and we're making sure that this is the one-stop shop for experiencing Michael Myers in gaming. This little guy here, his name is Will, and his favorite thing in the world are these little plastic spring toys. The problem with the little plastic spring toys is they get lost under anything and everything. This guy's a little magician, and he likes to lose his favorite toys all the time, don't you? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And when you like and subscribe, it makes the video do really, really well, which gives me the ad revenue to buy this little guy more springs. So if you want to like and subscribe to this video, that'll make the video do well, and if it does well, I can afford to buy more replacement springs for the ones he keeps vanishing out of nowhere. Yeah, I guess this video is sponsored by Will, but yeah, back to the show. The other theory, and the more likely theory, is to why the Halloween chapter is leaving Dead by Daylight is that they signed a 10-year deal. Like I mentioned earlier, the Halloween chapter came to Dead by Daylight in 2016, and this upcoming January is 2026, so that will be the 10 years in Dead by Daylight. And I know they made their deal with Compass International, which made the first film, well, not to the extent of Friday the 13th. The rights situation with Halloween is a little messy, with different movies having different rules and copyright for each one. So who knows if there was some sort of problem with getting the rights again. Maybe they couldn't renew. Maybe Compass International didn't want to renew. Who knows? I know Blumhouse, I'm pretty sure, doesn't even have the rights to like the Halloween series anymore. I'm pretty sure those are back out for somebody to pick up. So yeah, it's a whole mess. So I imagine that could have played a big part in why this chapter is now leaving Dead by Daylight. This also probably explains why Behavior randomly decided to rework Myers, even though Trickster and Skull Merchant are still dead in a ditch. You gotta remember that Halloween was the first license for Dead by Daylight, the first one that isn't an original creation, which means the standard that we have now of being able to adjust add-ons, kits, powers, etc. may not have been a thing back then. And if that's the case, it would make sense why they prioritized trying to rework Myers, because if they had to plan to rework Myers down the line, and then they had suddenly got put on a very strict timetable of the character leaving, they had to push it up to now, even though their character is far more deserving and desperately needing reworks right now. So what does this mean for players in Dead by Daylight now that the Halloween chapter is leaving? Obviously, get the chapter before it leaves in January. Even though, like Stranger Things, it could technically come back, it's not a guarantee, so I wouldn't risk it.
The one word that makes it all possible, and that word is sell. I want you to get out there and sell. sell, sell. I want you to sell your socks off. I want you to sell them off. Sell.
The good thing about this is that all of the perks are becoming general perks. This is huge because some really great perks are about to become available for free for everyone. Killers get a lot of good non-slowdown perks and Dying Light, and survivors literally get Decisive Strike for free. That's right, Anti-Tunnel is now going to be free for all players. Oh, I'm sorry, they renamed the perks just like they did with the Pinhead perk, so it's not called Decisive Strike anymore, it's called Will to Live. Maybe now that it's free, I will find my will to live. I do want to say as a minor note that I am not looking forward to more aggressive DSs. Like, dude, 90% of the time that I'm getting Decisive Strike in the game of Dead by Daylight, it's just because I so happen to be having quick and efficient chases. So by the time I am back on the other person, I'm getting DS'd even though I'm not tunneling anymore. There was this team today. I would hook somebody, come back to the last person hook, they'd start teabagging and getting really aggressive, and when I would finally catch up to them, they would hop lock DS me, and then I would be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go chase the other guy. Oh, nope, teabag, hop lock DS, and I'm like, how am I tunneling half the team? Isn't the definition of tunneling going after the same person over and over? How am I getting punished for tunneling when I'm literally going back and forth between two different people? Like, this perk has such a major flaw in the fact that it is not an anti-tunnel perk, but rather just a general invincibility that you get off hooked, and if you get down anytime soon, you could just DS the killer. Honestly, I would take DS being slightly stronger if it meant that it would actually not work on me if I was actually not tunneling. There are plenty of things in Dead by Daylight that irritate me, but not a lot of things make me actually angry or mad. And there are two things that mainly make me very angry and very mad. One being gameplay affecting bugs. If I am playing the Xenomorph and I'm trying to tail attack over an object and I hit thin air for no reason because of that stupid desync bug that's affecting so many ranged killers right now, that makes me mad. But the second thing that makes me really mad is when I'm being punished for something that I'm not doing. And there is no bigger offender of this than Decisive Strike and me getting punished even though I'm not tunneling. Though to get back to the positives, generally most of the free perks in Dead by Daylight are dog water. So that makes Dead by Daylight fairly pay to win, or at least pay to grind in terms of free characters that have good perks, but you either have to pay for access or grind a ton of iridescent shards to eventually get them. Having newer players have the option to run genuinely good stuff will help them stick with the game longer, which is genuinely a good thing. As a minor aside, there's also an argument a lot of DBD creators have brought up lately, mainly Pixelbush, where they said that all of the licenses that Behavior has accumulated, especially the ones like Halloween that don't have many skins, likely has been burning a pretty heavy hole in Behavior's pocket. We know Behavior has been having struggles as of late. Fairly recently, they laid off a lot of people, they've been working with smaller teams, etc. I can imagine having a lot of these older licenses hanging around that don't have the longevity and are just a one-time pop are ultimately good for the long-term bottom line. That's why I imagine that a certain striped sweatered individual will soon be on the chopping block next. On the flip side though, licenses are kind of what keeps the lights on and what makes Behavior's game of Dead by Daylight appeal to a much wider audience. I mean, hell, I've made most of my bread and butter on the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise. And still to this day, being able to play the Xenomorph, one of my favorite characters in media ever, holds me over when the game is going through rough patches. So the idea that these IPs that could do that and mean so much to people could eventually just be yoinked out of the game, this could really serve to hurt their more general, wider audience appeal. I do think it is possible that Behavior is trying to take more of a focus on a specific amount of licenses that perform well and maintain those licenses and their quality, while taking these kind of one-pop, not very high skin count licenses and kind of shuttering them slowly. It's expensive to hold on to all of these licenses at the same time, and depending on how much of a financial deficit that is, they may choose to eventually let go some of these licenses in order to save money. Although that's just, once again, conjecture, there's no proof to that, it's just a theory. A game! As for me, overall, I think losing the Halloween chapter sucks, as the chapter got me into the game and it means a lot to me. As for the reasons why the chapter is gone, I don't really see a world where Behavior willingly let go of this chapter at all. This license put them on the map and kind of put the reputation that it has become the horror Smash Brothers. You've heard that comparison over and over again. A new challenger approaches. Is it going to be Jason finally? This is honestly something that continues to bring people to the game because people don't often have the opportunity to be playing as their favorite horror antagonists, and Behavior through Dead by Daylight gives them the opportunity to do that. And especially when it comes to the license that literally started it all and put them on the map, there's no way they're letting that go willingly. So my guess is it's down to the Halloween ASIM game next year, or the agreement naturally expired and they couldn't renew for some reason or another. I would hope that one day, just like Stranger Things, it does eventually come back, but we've lost Pinhead now, and there's no sign on the horizon that that's happening either, so I don't know if I'd hold my breath for the Halloween chapter returning. Myers, you treated us to a lot of fun. Burger King Myers, Tombstone Myers, you name it. You brought this community a lot of smiles and sometimes some groans. Oh. And I hope one day you can come back to our lovely little community. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. What are your favorite memories of the Halloween chapter, whether it be Myers, the perks, whatever? If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe, because that's how I know I'm doing a good job on the back end. Other than that, that's it for today's video, friends. Hopefully this video made your day a little bit better today. If it didn't, I'll try to make your day better in the next video. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.